Welcome to Truth and Transparency. This is Pardon the Interruption with myself. This will be episode 3, part 2, Jason's testimony. So welcome everybody. Gotta give people a chance to get in chat. Been working on a lot. Again, this is the cross-examination of Mr. Jason, Hannah's father. So this will be episode, it's 3, part 2, which is the cross of Jason. Hello, Paul. How you doing? Welcome. I got a special birthday weekend coming up, so I do have a special live tonight for one of my favorites. I'm doing great. Thank you for asking there, Chad. Mic drop, I love you. I see some new, I hate to say I see some new faces, but I see some new names. Greensy, is that right? Greensy. Well, either way. Debbie, yes. Again, so I will have a special live tonight. It's a birthday bash and a Kim G reveal. So we've heard of gender reveals. We're going to do a Kim G reveal. I think you guys are going to appreciate it. So I got a birthday bash tonight, and her birthday gift is I am revealing everything about Kim G when it comes to the tubes. So the tube street. Grab your tube steak, grab your wine, grab your fireball. Let's get down. Let's do this. Oh, well, I'm glad that you've been watching for a while. I appreciate that. Thank you for feeling able to chat. That's nice to see. I'm glad that you are new, and I'm glad that you are here. I'm going to do a lot of my amazing work on this case, and I think I can bring Lindsay to the courtroom. I think I can get her back in the courtroom. So I'm going to grab some fireball. My son gave me some sniffles, but I'll take it. I'd rather have sniffles any day of the week, knowing that I have my son. So, Sarah King, love you, Mama. All right, let's do this thing. Again, this is Jason. Now this is the cross. This is the cross examination. So, where's your beer? Oh, well, today I got wine and fireball. So I'm going to go a little wine and fireball. Hello, Michelle. But Paul, I'm glad that you are making sure that I'm healthy here and that I'm definitely staying hydrated. So I was hit in my jaw, not by a fist, but by a workout equipment. So in case you guys are wondering here if it's a little swollen, because I usually have a nice jawline, it's a little bit more puffy right here. I hit myself on my Bowflex when I went down. The one side, like I grabbed too far this way and literally slipped out of here and hit me. So, but yeah, I'm building a new garage gym. So why should I have to travel to work out? But I enjoy working out. So yeah, a little sore right here. I Googled how to cover up bruises too. So hopefully they don't think I'm, okay. That was probably a bad joke, but here we go. Again, Jason is Hannah's father. And, oh boy. This cross is just, I don't know how Lindsay was convicted of murder. Way too much reasonable doubt, way too much of everything. But it's kind of like Weld County. I was asked to look at this case, and it was a lot of corruption, a lot of stuff that I'm going to start informing you guys about, that you can't get out on the streets. You can't get out. I have it because of working behind the scenes with family. So I was supposed to be going to Butler County. We got that snowstorm. I may still try to travel there tomorrow. It's not that far from me at all. I could probably get there in 45 minutes to an hour. So just like a nice little Sunday cruise. I'm supposed to warm up tomorrow. I kind of really wanted to go skiing though. So I might just flip a coin and kind of like let it take me. Heads, go to Butler. Tails, go skiing. That's how I like to make my tough decisions. Flip a coin. All right, let's do this. Here we go. Good morning.
Good morning.
We've never met.
No, ma'am.
Melinda Cook-Howers, counsel for Ms. Partin. Sorry you're here today.
Thank you.
Is it okay if I call you Jason?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Hannah had hepatitis C, is that correct?
I was not aware of that.
You weren't aware of the pediatrician records indicating she had hepatitis C?
We had her tested at birth, and it came up negative, and she was retested, I want to say around 9 months, 10 months, and no, I was not aware that she had hepatitis C. I know her mother was hepatitis C positive, but I was not aware Hannah was hepatitis C positive, no.
Were you the sole caregiver taking Hannah to and from the pediatrician?
Yes, ma'am.
And you would agree with me that within those records, if the doctor indicated she had onset of hepatitis C in September. Okay, guys, this is huge. Okay, so I did my research on hepatitis C. Hepatitis C, you could have it when you're born and through birth if the mother has hep C. But here, as you hear Jason's testimony, she didn't have hep C until at 9 months. Of her birth year that she had hepatitis C?
Yes, ma'am.
And you didn't tell Lindsay about that or even TJ Smith, correct?
I was not aware of that, no.
On Tuesday, March 6th, Lindsay told you about the fall in the gravel, is that correct?
She did tell me about the fall on the gravel, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And Hannah confirmed that to you, isn't that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You can also get hep C. It's also considered a sexually transmitted disease. Jason, I'll ask you the question
small
again.
cases. Only
Hannah told
4
you
to
the same
7%
thing, that she fell in the
of
gravel,
kids are
correct?
born
Yes, ma'am.
with hep C, 4 to 7%, with a mom that has hep C.
Do you remember telling the detectives that you had given Hannah a bath and saw a bruise on her?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you remember asking Hannah about that bruise?
I'm not sure what specific bruise you're talking about. If I saw bruises on Hannah, I did ask Hannah.
Okay. Do you recall telling the detectives that you saw a bruise on her butt cheek?
Yes.
Okay. And that you asked Hannah what that was from,
Yes, ma'am.
and she said she fell on the step?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And would you agree with me that you also told the detectives that Hannah never says that Lindsay whoops her or beats her or is rough with her, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you had given Hannah a bath 2 nights before the 8th of March, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You and
And
Father
is that when you saw the
have fat
bruise?
fingers.
Yes, ma'am.
And do you recall describing the bruise at all to the detectives?
No, ma'am, I do not.
You don't recall specifically advising the detectives that it was a bruise on her butt cheek, and I'm using those words directly, butt cheek.
From the bath, yes, I did talk about the bruise on her butt cheek.
Okay, and today here you've described or pointed out a bruise that you would agree with me is above the butt cheek, is actually on the area above that, correct?
Yes.
So, Mr. Weshy, did you see both of those 2 bruises?
I don't believe I did.
Okay,
So is it that you saw the bruise on the butt cheek as you described it to the detectives?
The scrape on the bruise that was scraped is what I saw.
Okay, and I'm going to show you what you previously identified as State's Exhibit 66. Do you recognize that to be the same photograph that the prosecutor showed you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and I'm going to publish that. Just 1 second, thank you. I thought I got it right, but I'm sure I didn't. It was previously on.
Okay. I want people to understand that I went ahead and I did some research. The closest Walmart to where Jason lives is the Walmart Hamilton Supercenter Vision Center, 150 Main, and it is 10 to 11 minutes, depending on which way you go. 4.9 miles the one way, 6.8 miles the other way. So it's not like it's right, next door.
On the computer, which is why it's. I'm trying to put this up on the screen versus it was going through her computer system. Okay. Would you agree with me, Jason, that this would be her butt cheek
Yes, ma'am.
and that would be a bruise, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So you were incorrect in your testimony to the prosecutor on direct that you saw this scrape at the top. Is that fair to say?
Where your finger is at right now, that is the bruise I was talking about on top of her butt cheek.
Okay, and that's not how you'd agree with me that that's not how you described it
Yes, ma'am.
to the detectives?
Yes, ma'am.
And you would agree with me that the way in which you described it to the detectives was a bruise, not a scrape, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you'd agree with me that just a couple minutes ago or 30 seconds ago, you identified that this was a scrape, not a bruise, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Do you recall telling both the hospitals, meaning Fort Hamilton, as well as Children's Hospital, and the detectives that you spoke with that Hannah had been complaining of a headache for 3 weeks?
Off and on.
Okay. Do you remember telling the detectives
I
that?
did tell them that, yes, ma'am.
And telling the hospital that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When Jax would have been 3 years old, my son, if he would have been complaining of headaches and his head hurting, to say it once, twice, you know how kids just whatever, but to be talking about it consistently for 3 weeks, as a parent, I think I would be probably making an appointment to go, why is my kid bothering of headaches? Did it disrupt their sleep pattern? Did they wake up in the middle of the night, hurting? What was, when you say that complaining, how are they complaining? And I think that the defense attorney here does not give enough weight to that. I mean, she mentions it here. Let's see how she kind of talks about it. But I would be very concerned if my son, Jax, at the age of 3, for 3 weeks was talking about his head.
And as it relates to the left eye injury, do you remember describing that as a little black eye but nothing bad?
I didn't think it was hospital bad. She had a black eye. It did look like the handlebar hit her face.
Okay. So my question is, do you remember telling the detective this exact phrasing? Gave her a little black eye but nothing bad. Do you remember that phrasing that you used?
I don't recall my exact phrasing though, ma'am.
Okay. And when you were talking to the detectives at Fort Hamilton Hughes, you'd agree with me that that was being recorded, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you knew it was being recorded?
Yes, ma'am.
So if I told you that the transcript says, gave her a little black eye but nothing bad, do you have any reason to disagree with me?
No, if that's what it says, if that's what I said, then I agree with you.
You testified on direct that you believe that the medical condition for Hannah was an aneurysm. Do you recall that testimony?
Yes, ma'am.
And that's what you told Ms. Partin, isn't it?
Yes, that's what I thought it was.
Okay. And did you tell her that both at Fort Hamilton Hospital as well as when she was down there for the evening at Children's Hospital?
Yes, ma'am.
When you were at Children's Hospital, did you advise the Children's Hospital staff that Hannah had been in the ICU at birth for those number of days?
I'm not sure if I did or not. I can't recall.
Okay, just want to make sure everybody is aware of this. Okay. Lindsay told Jason about injuries on 3 occasions. Okay. If someone's trying to hide something, why are you even mentioning it? Why would you not even say anything at all? But she told Jason about 3 injuries, about these injuries on 3 separate occasions. Bruises on the chest, bruises on the chin, the black eye. Three separate occasions. Paul.
I apologize, I'm going to go back to the bruise on her butt cheek. Do you recall specifically asking Hannah if she'd got whooped, that was the result of that particular bruise?
No.
And do you recall giving a history at the hospital and Children's Hospital with those words at all?
About her being whooped? I don't recall that, no, ma'am.
You don't recall telling her, I'm sorry, Reagan Kitzmeyer, the social worker that you spoke to that day and gave a history?
No, ma'am. I don't recall that.
So you don't recall saying that when you gave her a bath and saw that bruise, that you asked her if she got whooped, and instead Hannah said she'd fallen on a step?
I don't recall that. It's possible. I was under a lot of stress at that time. I'm not sure.
Understandable. You recall telling the social worker that you had no concerns about Lindsay Partin as a caregiver for your child?
Yes, ma'am. I'm sure I said that.
Have you ever met Detective Turner?
Not until this happened, no, ma'am.
Let me rephrase that. As we sit here today on April 9th of 2019, have you ever met Detective Turner?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you meet him?
On March 8th, 2018.
You met him on March 8th?
Yes, ma'am.
Where did you meet him at?
I'm not sure. It was at one of the hospitals. It was either at Fort Hamilton or it was at Children's.
Okay.
I talked to a lot of detectives, so I'm not sure when Mr. Turner came into.
Did you go down to the Hamilton, I'm sorry, it's Hamilton, but it's Butler County Sheriff's Department. Did you have an audio recorded statement with Detective Turner?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Could you be confused with maybe Detective Tanner or Detective Ventry or Detective Sprague or Detective any other name?
It's possible. I know I did go to the Butler County Sheriff's Department and have a meeting with Mr. Turner.
Okay. When was the last time you had a meeting with Detective Turner?
I cannot remember off the top of my head. It was quite a while ago.
Would you agree with me that today is the first time you've told Detective Turner in this room that you didn't go get milk the night before, but instead you went to Fairfield?
No, ma'am.
When did you previously tell him that?
When I found out, Monday morning when we were in court.
Monday morning here in court?
Yes, ma'am.
So today being Tuesday the 9th, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So Monday, April 1st.
Yes, ma'am.
And you told him that when?
Yesterday. I found out Sunday, this past Sunday, and I told him that yesterday when we.
Okay, here we go. This is what Lana does. Wait, what? All right. This happened on the 8th of March in 2018. Then, here we are, a year later, almost April of 2019. Okay, starts the trial. Actually, starts at the end of March, I believe, but we're here in April. He is just saying that he talked to the detective and told him the day before he takes the stand that, oh, hey, I didn't go and get milk at Walmart. I actually had a friend sleepover named Chris Davis. And I took him home and then just came back home. What? Excuse me, what? Wait, what are we talking about here? Wait,
We came when I was in court.
You told him that, like, out in the hallway?
Out in
You didn't go get milk the night before, but instead you went to Fairfield?
No, ma'am.
When did you previously tell him that?
When I found out, Monday morning when we were in court.
Monday morning here in court?
Yes, ma'am.
So today being Tuesday the 9th, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So Monday, April 1st.
Yes, ma'am.
And you told him that when?
Yesterday. I found out Sunday, this past Sunday, and I told him that yesterday when we came, when I was in court.
You told him that, like, out in the hallway?
Out in the hall, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so it doesn't have anything to do with the fact that in opening arguments, I indicated that your whereabouts for the night of the 7th of March were very important and suspicious. Doesn't have anything to do with that?
No, ma'am.
Zero.
Nope.
And it's not just all of a sudden, my friend Chris, is it Chris who stayed the night?
Christopher Davis, yes.
Yeah. All of a sudden, my friend Chris stayed the night, and I was driving him home on the 7th.
Yes, ma'am.
So you agree with me that you told the milk story, that you went to Walmart to get milk. You agree with me that you told that to the detectives at Fort Hamilton Hughes, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You told, again, that same story, that I went to Walmart to get milk on the evening of the 7th to the detectives at Children's Hospital, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you told that again to the social worker at Children's Hospital, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And then all of a sudden, now you know, oh my gosh, my friend Chris was over the last night my daughter was alive in my house, and now I remember that I drove him to Fairfield. Is that what you're telling this jury?
Yes, ma'am.
That's what you're telling this jury.
okay. Right here is where my line of questioning would have went like this. What kind of vehicle does Mr. Davis, Chris Davis, own? He doesn't own a vehicle? How old is he? How do you know him? What's your relationship to Chris Davis? Well, if he didn't have a vehicle, then how did he end up getting to your home in the first place? When did he first get there? And why does he have a suitcase full of clothes? How long had he been there? How long had Chris Davis been there? Well, I did some research on Chris Davis. And I did some research on where Chris Davis lived at the time. So hold on, here we go.
Is it because you talked to your daughter, Caitlin, and she told you that she knew Chris stayed there? Is that why you're coming up with Chris now?
No, ma'am.
You didn't have that conversation with Caitlin at all?
No, ma'am.
I'm going to show you what was previously marked as Defendant's Exhibit J12 and J13. Ask you first if you recognize those photographs.
Yes, ma'am.
You've had an opportunity, is it fair to say, to look at all of the photographs of 4004 Shank Road taken by the detectives?
I believe so, yes, ma'am.
And you'd agree with me that those are a photograph of a suitcase in Hannah's room found by them on March 8th, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And would you agree with me that that's the suitcase of your friend Chris?
Yes, ma'am.
Boom!
So if you took him home on the evening of...
So she gets him to admit that that's his suitcase, right? God, this defense attorney just screwed the pooch. You need to get it on record, everything you possibly can about Chris Davis. When he got there, why he was there, how long he was there, what kind of vehicle he drives, why didn't he Uber home? What? Let's see what she does. Let's see what she does.
The 7th. Why is his suitcase still there?
He forgot it.
He forgot his suitcase? Wait till I tell you what this guy does for a living. You guys are gonna shit. He forgot it. He forgot his suitcase? Oh, I can't wait for this part. But the defense attorney, in my opinion, screws the pooch. Hold on.
And when did you remember that?
That he forgot it?
Yeah.
Well, I knew he forgot it when I saw the suitcase in the pictures.
Okay, so when did you first see the pictures?
On the 25th, I believe, when I met with Miss Hiley
The 25th of which month?
of March.
Of 2018?
Yes, ma'am.
So isn't it fair to say that on March 25th of 2018, you knew you had not gone to get milk? You knew Chris had been there overnight, correct?
I knew his suitcase was there. No, ma'am, I did not realize that he stayed there the night before.
But just conveniently now you remember.
I remembered after I had that discussion with him, yes, ma'am.
Did you look through your phone at all to check texts and figure out what you'd done on those last few days?
No, ma'am, I wasn't worried about that. I was worried about...
Jason, where did you stay? Did you stay at the hospital when Hannah was sick? Or, did you stay there morning and night? Did you go home? You're in your house this whole time after Hannah's death, living in this house until what records indicate as you were still getting mail there in 2020, but she wouldn't be able to say that because this is all the way just until 2019. You didn't see his suitcase there? This defense attorney screws the pooch so hard, so bad.
About my daughter.
You were worried, actually, because you know that the detectives are looking at you or Lindsay Partin. It's one of you, correct?
Are you correct?
And so you lied to the police about your whereabouts on the last night of Hannah's life, correct?
Correct.
You lied about who was present with Hannah.
Correct.
And so there's a third person. It's not just maybe Lindsay or you. It's maybe Chris, too.
No, ma'am.
What's Chris's last name?
Davis?
And did you tell that to the detective?
No, ma'am.
Did you just call him your friend?
I may have said Chris. I didn't go over any specifics. It was a very brief conversation. We didn't get into detail.
Because you hadn't made up the specifics yet. Is that fair to say?
No, ma'am.
You hadn't been told the specifics yet. Is that fair to say?
No, ma'am.
Is Chris in the courtroom?
No, he is not.
Has he been here at all for any of the trial days?
No, ma'am. He doesn't drive and he lives in Lebanon now.
So where did he live in Fairfield?
At Cobblestone Apartments.
Okay, Cobblestone Apartments is 33 to 35 minutes, depending on which way you go. He's saying he doesn't drive. How did he get there? I have Chris Davis as a military man. He was in the military. Now, my information could be way off. I also then went ahead and looked at how far Chris Davis's Cobblestone Apartments are from let's say, where Smith Corp would be. Why would he drive out of his way versus, let's say, taking him in the morning on his way to work with his work truck? How does somebody forget their suitcase? How does somebody like Chris then, let's say that he did forget it, not realize, I mean, you're not going to realize that, oh shit, I left my suitcase over there. Hey, Jason, I left my suitcase over there. I got to get that back from you. Why would you be such in a hurry to forget your suitcase? Well, I know why. Because what if Chris was still in the home that morning because he hadn't taken him back yet? And then when this all went down with Hannah, it was like, you got to get out of the house. You got to get out of the house.
And you estimate that that took you an hour and 15 minutes round trip?
Ballpark. It takes 30 minutes from Shank Road to Cobblestone.
And what did you do at Chris's apartment?
I dropped him off.
And you just remembered that after you talked to Chris?
Yes, ma'am.
No, Chris was
Do
never
you
questioned.
agree with me, Jason, that a person's memory would be better closer in time to the event than a year and 1 month later?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What is the defense attorney doing here? Well, let's back up. Who is Chris? Let's just write down these questions. Number one, who's Chris? What's your relationship? How do you know him? Where does he work? What does he do? How old is Chris? Work, age, relationship. How long have you known him? Is he married? Does he have any kids? Does he do drugs? Have you ever gotten high with this man? Have you ever bought drugs from this man? Who is Chris Davis? And why isn't it an automatic mistrial right here, right now? And how does Lindsey Partin lose an appeal? Well, I think I may know. Because their fucking attorney's an idiot. Right here. Wait a second. Who is this guy? Okay, if you drove him home, his phone records would really be important. His GPS, because if you use Google and his cell towers. If you drove him home, how did he get there? How did he get to your house? When did he get to your house? He packed a suitcase. What guys pack suitcases? If I'm just coming to kick it over my friend's house and then I ended up staying a lot longer than I wanted to. But no, he had a suitcase there. And he's not lying. He could have been like, no, that's not his suitcase. He says, no, it was his. Oh, yeah, that was his. So you're living in this house for a year until trial starts. Did you ever go in that room again? Were you ever like, this isn't mine. Whose is this? How many times, so you'd ask, how many times were you in that room in the past year and you didn't see the suitcase? How is Chris Davis not new evidence? What if Chris Davis has priors? Who the fuck is Chris Davis? Who is this man? What the fuck? then, so what I'm going to show you guys is I'm going to show this in a second. So logically speaking, you would, okay, we're going to get to logic here in a second because a lot of people fucking don't have it, but common sense, logic. I mean, why would you want to drive there for, 35 minutes and then just drive right back? Usually try to like put things in your wheelhouse. Did he pay you? Did he pay you to drive him? You can't even afford freaking anything. I'd be like, dude, I can't be driving all over. I can't come pick you up. Did he come over and you guys do a binge for the weekend?
You were aware that as of Monday, April 1st, in this trial, timing is pretty important, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Where Hannah was, who she was with, in the 24 hours immediately preceding the EMTs coming to her, that's a pretty important time.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you consent to have your phone searched?
I'm not sure if I was asked or not.
Look at that. Look at that. Boom, over with. No more questions about Chris. This is where you'd be asking for a sidebar. You'd be asking for a recess. As soon as this man spoke about going somewhere else, you would. I need time in light of Mr. Jason's new testimony here and his whereabouts and what he did the night before. We need to look into this. We need to haul in Chris motherfucking Davis. Whatever she charged Lindsay Partin, she needs to give back all the money. All the money.
Well, my question was, did you consent?
I did not consent. If somebody asked, I would have consented, yes.
Okay, so if they didn't ask, you didn't volunteer it?
No.
And to your knowledge, have they being the detectives, presented you with phone records from search warrants conducted on your phone through your cell phone carrier?
I'm not sure if they had my phone records or not. I know they have phone records from Lindsay. I'm not sure if they had mine or not.
They've shown you the phone records from Lindsay, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you first see those?
On the 25th
Of which month?
of March.
March 25th of 2019?
Yes, ma'am.
So, 2 weeks ago?
Yes, ma'am.
The Monday prior to trial starting?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that when you identified Exhibit 128 with the phone records that Ms. Hiley previously showed you?
No, ma'am.
So when had you identified those?
My calls?
Yes.
Just now.
That's the first time you saw that?
I saw the phone records, but we didn't go through the phone records. I didn't sit there and read the phone records.
What does I saw the phone records, but I didn't go through them mean?
Because there was a whole folder of evidence. I assume it was evidence. She had the pictures in that folder. There was phone records in that folder. I did identify my phone number on the phone records, but I didn't specifically go through record by record on the phone records.
Would you agree with me that you estimated that it took you 3 minutes to get out the door after you texted Lindsay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So if the specific time of the text is 6:52 and 17 seconds, and then Lindsay texts you back at 6:52 and 55 seconds, you would agree with me that it took you about 3 minutes to get out the door?
And over to Lindsay's, yes, ma'am.
You indicated, Mr. Weshy, that you knew that the police were tape recording your statements, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to show counsel first. Defendant's Exhibit QQ, so quarter. So you recall that that interview was tape recorded, both of them,
Yes, ma'am.
and not video recorded, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Because you were at the hospital for both of those, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You had one first at Fort Hamilton Hughes,
Yes, ma'am.
and then the second one at Children's Hospital, is that fair to say?
Yes, ma'am. I talked to him quite a bit at Children's Hospital.
Okay. And do you believe that all of your talking to the detectives were recorded, or just one?
I'm not sure. I'd see him in the hallway a lot. I was there for the whole 10 days she was in there, so I was there quite a bit.
I'm going to approach the witness with QQ.
You may.
Direct your attention to page 8. Line 11 through 13. Ask you to read that to yourself.
Okay.
Okay. Does that refresh your memory that you told the detectives, I was getting ready to leave my house and I was still putting my boots on and stuff? So I probably walked out the door at 6:55?
I don't recall that, but I mean, yes, I did say that.
If your friend Chris told you that this is what you said, would you believe that then?
No, ma'am. I'm not saying I didn't say it. Obviously, yes, ma'am.
And you'd agree with me that you told the detectives that Hannah put her own coat on, you remember that?
Yes, ma'am.
And you told the detectives that prior to putting her coat on, you and she went into the bathroom and brushed her teeth and brushed her hair, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
But isn't her hairbrush laying on the dining room table in the front room?
There's quite a few hairbrushes. I have all girls. I'm not sure.
This is good. This part I'll give to the attorney. I don't think she was prepared for the whole questioning of how to handle the whole Chris Davis thing. But right here, she does a really good job. I want to point this out. So check this out. So he just says about Hannah going and brushing her teeth and her hair in the bathroom. Here we go.
I'm going to show you what I've marked as Exhibit Y as in year, 1 through 5. Ask you to look at Exhibits 1 through 5. Do you recognize the photographs contained in 1 through 5?
Yes, ma'am.
What are they?
They're of my house.
Do they appear to be a true and accurate depiction of your house on March 8th?
Yes, ma'am.
You previously had identified at least one of these photographs when the prosecutor showed you some photographs of the bathroom. Is that fair to say?
Yes, ma'am.
Asked to publish.
State.
No objection.
At the end of you make publish.
I'm going to put them on in order. You agree with me, Mr. Weshy, that that is your bathroom, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And can you see a brush in that room?
I do not.
You're ready to start your own business, to turn that passion into a paycheck.
Why,
Hannah's
Sue?
mom wasn't present in her life.
Do you see a brush underneath the sink?
No, ma'am.
Y3? Sorry, no. Do you see a brush in that photograph?
No, ma'am.
Y4? Do you see a brush in that photograph?
No, ma'am.
Y5? Do you see a brush in that photograph?
No, ma'am.
I'm going to show you what I've marked as Z as in zebra 1 through 7 after I've shown the prosecutor.
You may approach.
be admitted, you may publish as well.
One second. I'll keep track of my
Showing you what's marked as zebra 1 through 6. Ask you to look through those 6 photographs, please. Do you recognize those photographs, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Those appear to be your living room as it was left on March 8th.
Yes, ma'am.
Jason, is it fair to say that when you picked up, Hannah on the 7th, you strapped her right into her car seat when you got her out of the house from Lindsay, correct?
I cannot recall. I'm not sure if I did or not. If I was leaving directly from there, I would have, but if I was just going to my house, no, I would not have.
Okay, well, you just told this jury that you went back to the house and picked up Chris who'd stayed the night, so which one was it?
I understand I did, but I don't know if I didn't stop at my house. If I didn't stop at my house, then I didn't strap her in.
Where was Chris at?
At my house.
How would he have gotten in the car?
Well, because I can pull in the driveway and he can come out of the door and get in my car.
But Chris didn't tell you what the memory of that was?
No, I didn't know.
Exhibit Z1,
Just fucking stupid. That's the stupidest question.
your living room, is that fair to say?
Yes, ma'am.
Z2, the coffee
Oh.
table in the front room?
Yes, ma'am.
You see the brush in that photograph?
Yes, ma'am.
Z3, you recognize that photograph?
Yes, ma'am.
See the brush?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, right here. I do want to state something. I said it was a love couch. I never saw that the back of that part. It's like this has to be the smallest sectional I've ever seen. Look at this. It is a sectional. Look at this.
Then
Look at PlayStation. I believe that's a PlayStation. 2 different cups, 2 males. 2 males. 2 plates. 1 fork. Ashtray.
coffee
Oh.
table in the front room?
Yes, ma'am.
You see the brush in that photograph?
Yes, ma'am.
Where is the brush? Do you guys see a brush? Where am I missing something? I don't see is the brush on the ground? Where's this brush at? Oh wait, there it is. Off to the right. Is that a brush? Right. I thought that was okay. I thought that was a spoon, like a soup thingy, like a ladle. Okay. Interesting.
Z3. You recognize that photograph?
Yes, ma'am.
Right there, that's the sectional. Now, when you look at the couch, when you look at the other photos, I mean, 1, 2.
See the brush?
Look at how close that is to that television. Wow.
Yes, ma'am.
That's the same brush from the photograph before, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Z4, just a farther back photograph. Is
I mean,
that
wait,
fair?
do you guys do you see that right there? Huh. Interesting.
Say
Yes, ma'am.
Z5. Does that appear to be your house?
Yes, ma'am.
And this is your bedroom door?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you recall telling Lindsay Partin previously that Hannah had locked you out of your bedroom one time?
Yes, ma'am.
And that she was a little mischievous about it?
She was.
And you used that word with her, hadn't you?
Yes, ma'am. She was mischievous.
And you described her various things that she had done before, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And Z6? Do you recognize that to be the top of the, I guess that's
What kind of cream is that?
the fireplace?
Yes, ma'am.
It's the Big Pig song.
Show you what was previously marked as AA 1 through 22. There's 22 photographs here. If you would look through those, please.
Got you, Shmita.
Have you had the opportunity to review those?
Yes, ma'am.
Do those appear to be a fair and accurate depiction of your house?
Yes.
Specifically the kitchen area on March 8th of 2018?
Yes, ma'am.
Ask the publisher in a minute.
All right.
What it looks to me is like he did a lot of gaming, and that he's treating that like as a gaming television. And when you're sitting that close, you're doing a lot of gaming. So, yeah, that's what it looks like to me.
AA 1 through 22.
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. A1. That's your kitchen area, correct?
I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, AA1, thank you for correcting me. I believe this is similar to a photograph that Ms. Hiley had you identify, is that fair to say?
Yes, ma'am.
Shows the back door of your house, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And the refrigerator, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that your computer on the table?
Yes, ma'am.
AA2 appears to be a close-up of the sink area, kitchen sink area, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
AA3. Another angle opposite of AA1, looking the other direction towards the stove, is that fair to say?
Yes, ma'am.
And this would be the doorway back to the living room, correct?
Yes,
The
ma'am.
entryway, I guess I'd call it.
Yes.
Okay. AA4, the computer.
Yes, ma'am.
What is over here to the right?
That
Battery charger?
is, yeah, it's a rechargeable batteries for the Xbox remote controls. Energizer charger. It charges AA batteries and AAA batteries.
Okay. He says controllers, plural.
The computer.
Yes, ma'am.
What is over here to the right?
That
Battery charger?
is, yeah, it's a rechargeable batteries for the Xbox remote controls. Energizer charger. It charges AA batteries and AAA batteries.
AA5 inside of your oven.
Yes, ma'am.
AA6 above the stove.
Yes, ma'am.
Are those eggs just randomly up there? Is that just an egg? He is a prosecution witness. He's being cross-examined right now. He's the dad of Hannah.
AA7. Is that above the stove?
No, I think that's above the sink.
AA8.
Like,
Yes.
it's a light bulb. I like eggs, guys. Come on. Let's just go with eggs. Wow.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that to the side of the stove? I apologize, side of the sink?
Yes, ma'am. Side of the sink.
You can see that that's the cabinet right there that we just pointed to?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And AA8 is a closer up of the sink and stove area, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
AA10, where you keep your food, is that fair to say?
Yes, ma'am.
What is in there that a child could eat? He said he made cereal for Hannah in the morning. He said he made cereal for Hannah.
I don't see any cereal in there, do you?
No, ma'am.
Bottom cabinet with pans, AA11, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
AA12, another bottom cabinet with miscellaneous kitchen appliances.
Yes, ma'am.
AA13, a drawer
Yes, ma'am.
with paper bags in it, I'm sorry, plastic bags.
Plastic, yeah, with the plastic bags.
AA14, utensil drawer next to the stove.
Yes, ma'am.
AA15, just an empty drawer.
Yes, ma'am.
AA,
When the next time Jack says to me, "Mama, we don't got no food in this house," I'm gonna say, "No, son. You want to see? Want to see? I'm gonna show you what no food is."
16, spoons and forks and knives drawer.
Yes, ma'am.
AA16, I'm sorry, AA17.
I don't want to see that.
Double AA16, I'm sorry, AA17. Cup cupboard, is that fair to say?
Yes, ma'am.
AA18, where you keep your plates.
Yes, ma'am.
Is this the microwave here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, last chance. Enter Honey's giveaway now, and you could win this.
Cabinet all the way to the left above the washer dryer, is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay, so there are his light bulbs, guys. So he just keeps his light bulbs there and up scattered.
Yes, ma'am.
And that was AA19. AA20 underneath the sink.
Yes,
correct?
ma'am.
AA21 inside of your fridge,
Yes, ma'am.
correct? You don't
Yes.
see any milk in that side of the fridge, do you?
No, ma'am.
AA22, the inside of your fridge, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You don't.
Where are the popsicles? Every kid needs popsicles. Yeah, I know. I was being funny. They were salt and pepper shakers. Damn it, no, they were eggs. No. Hi, Momo. What's up? No, my son will eat. He likes to eat cereal without milk. That's not the problem. The problem is that there's no milk and there's no cereal. And why does Hannah want donuts when she gets there? Wait till you see this.
You don't see any milk in there either.
No, ma'am.
Do you recall speaking with Detective Turner on the telephone on or about March 10th, where he asked you about the milk?
Hi, Jamie.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you recall Detective Turner advising you in that telephone call on or about March 10th that the detectives in the Butler County Sheriff's Department had investigated and looked to see if there were any videos for you at Walmart buying milk the evening of the 7th? Do you recall that?
Yes, ma'am.
And that's when you told him you must have been mistaken, you didn't buy milk, correct?
No, I didn't know that I didn't buy milk until I had him look at the pictures or open my refrigerator. I didn't realize that I didn't buy milk until I was told.
Okay, so in that conversation, which occurred on or about March 10th, you didn't remember that you'd been to Fairfield on the evening of the 7th?
No, ma'am.
Did he ask where you were instead?
I told him I went back home. If I didn't have milk, I assumed I went back home.
So on March 10th, on or about, you didn't even remember you drove all the way to Fairfield to drop your friend Chris off, correct?
No, ma'am.
If the witnesses indicate that you were actually not home at 10 o'clock, would you agree with them?
No, ma'am.
You think you were home?
By 10 o'clock, yes, ma'am.
Well, you told the detectives and you told the social worker that you were pretty clear that you went to Walmart for milk, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you told the detectives and the social worker that you were pretty clear and pretty certain that you guys were home, Hannah went and played in her room, and then you all fell asleep on the couch, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So now it's pretty clear, as of at least this week.
Okay. In his testimony, he's also said that, we're going to get into that here, but I believe there's a reason that he slept out on the couch that night with Hannah. You see that pillow out there? She's got a little, her pillow. There was a reason for that. And it's because Chris Davis was still there. He says that Hannah usually slept with him in his bed. Okay. Hannah usually slept with him in his bed. We'll wait till you see these pictures because I'm going to tell you something and you guys can say that makes sense, that doesn't make sense. To me, it makes sense that either A, your guest sleeps out on the couch and you two sleep where you normally sleep. But why on that night aren't you? Like, why are you sleeping on the couch? You said you normally don't. You sleep in the bed with Hannah. My issue is that everything that happened the night before is a total blur. Is they haven't been honest. And it's like, what the hell was going down?
You know you weren't home, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So the whole time frame that you gave the detectives that you were home and asleep on the couch at 8 o'clock, maybe 8:30, that's not true, correct?
No, ma'am. I was probably on the couch by 8:30.
Move to strike, non-responsive.
Your Honor, if I may address that.
Yeah, let's do it.
Now,
All right, the request strike will be denied, Ms. Howard, you may proceed.
Do you find it odd that you didn't remember about Chris until just last week?
No, ma'am.
I'm going to show you what was previously admitted as Exhibit J1. Ask the public, it's already been admitted.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be J1 straight, it's already been in J1.
I'm gonna go through J.
All right, good.
You recognize that as Hannah's room?
Yes, ma'am.
This is the room that you told the detectives and the social worker that Hannah went to play in for 10 minutes after you arrived home at 7.
Okay, this is Hannah's room. Remember, make notes here. No sheets. And this is where he talks about, well, she just played in there. She didn't sleep in there because she slept with me, you know, in my room, which I have no issues with that, guys. My son can sleep with me. I sleep with him. You know, she's 3 years old. Like to me, I don't judge people for that. Snuggle them while you can, you know, no problems with that.
7 o'clock, do you remember that?
Yes, ma'am.
That was a lie, correct?
We did not go home. I left, so yes, that she did not go in and play at 7 o'clock.
And there aren't any toys in there, right?
Not too many.
I see a clown in picture 1, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, we're OfferPad, and we want to buy your home. Just go to OfferPad.com, enter basic information.
And J2, I see a naked baby doll, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And maybe a Mickey Mouse stuffed animal.
A Minnie Mouse, yes, ma'am.
That'd be the extent of the toys, correct?
There's a few more there than that, but yeah, she didn't have many toys.
I'm going to hand you the rest of the exhibits.
She didn't have many toys. She didn't have any food.
J3 through 11. If you could find the other toys that you're speaking about, I'd like you to point them out to me, and then I'll show that photograph.
Well, there's toys in all the photographs except for 2 of them, ma'am.
Could you?
Yeah, I'm going to go over that with my timeline. So I'm definitely going to touch base on that because I'm also going to show where Cobblestone Grove, where that was, and then where he lived. And then just driving it, not even to say that they would have gotten out of the car and done anything, you know, the bath, all that stuff. You know, when you take a bath with your kid, the age of 3, were there toys in the bath? My kids' toys stay wet. My son's toy would stay wet, and then even after a couple days, I need to pick them up, and there's still like water dripping out of them. But yeah, Honey Bear, I'm definitely gonna touch base on that with this timeline, and then I'm gonna give you guys some inside info as well.
Identify which number you looked at that you see other toys than the 3 toys that we identified in the first 2 photographs.
Yes, ma'am. J8.
Okay, if you can hand that to me. Thank you.
Exactly.
J5. J6. J10. This is pretty much, J11 is pretty much the same photo. And then, I can't see anything in that one.
So you've identified 5 photographs, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, she had him there on Chris Davis, and she.
J10.
I have a whole page of questions.
Is this the toy you refer to, this yellow and green?
Yes, ma'am.
What is that?
I'm not sure exactly what it is. It's like a dinosaur. She fits her little shapes through the top. It's a triangle, a square, and a circle, and her little blocks she can put through there.
In the 10 minutes you told the detective she'd been playing in her room that night, was she playing with that toy?
I'm not sure.
I thought you just said she didn't play in her room for 10 minutes.
At 7 o'clock, no, because we weren't there.
So she did play in her room?
She may have went in the room when we got back.
He's talking about down there in the right corner. Okay. She's talking about that's that dinosaur down there in the right-hand corner.
Is that a may or she did?
I'm not 100% sure.
She didn't go back at 8 o'clock. Is that true?
No, that's not true.
She wasn't there at 8:30. Isn't that true?
No, ma'am, that's not true.
You and Hannah were out pretty late
No.
on the 7th of March.
No, ma'am.
You weren't with Chris?
I dropped Chris off at his apartment, and I came right back home. We were not out late.
Really?
Really?
J11, that same toy that you're talking about?
Yes, ma'am.
J8, the same toy, the shapes?
Well, and you got the fireman doll down here on the right next to
Oh,
the
I called
naked
that a
baby
clown.
doll.
I apologize.
Oh, okay.
So the clown and the naked baby doll that we already identified?
Yes.
That's 3 of the photographs. So we've got an additional toy.
And there's also a stuffed animal under that TV stand as well. It's a pink teddy bear that she used to play with. That's another one.
Underneath where Chris's suitcase is?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong. When you go to someone's house, I just traveled. I was just in Florida, and then I was just in Denver. Well, I can assure you this. I didn't put my suitcase in a room that I didn't use. I didn't go to Jamie's house and say, Jamie, I'm going to put my suitcase in your bedroom, and I'm going to sleep in this other bedroom. Wherever you're going to be, spending your evenings to sleep is normally where your suitcase goes, right? I mean, maybe I've just lost all logic, but what the fuck? So his suitcase, Chris's, is in Hannah's playroom. It's not her bedroom, it's her playroom. It's where she plays with her toys. Okay. I'm here for it. Let's hear.
Down at the bottom, on the bottom shelf.
Right here?
And there's another toy next to it. I'm not sure exactly which one that is. And it looked like in that picture there was another toy behind that box as well.
That pink one to the left, it looks like, I think that's what he's talking about.
Are you telling me that your 3-year-old daughter climbed behind that box?
It's an empty box. Our hot water heater went out, and that was the box that came in a new hot water heater. And she liked to play with the box, so I kept it. She would climb inside of it and play with it. It was like her little fort.
Did she climb in it the night of the 7th?
Not that I'm aware. It's sitting up. She couldn't climb in it sitting up.
J5 appears to be the closet. Is that fair to say?
Yes, ma'am.
You point to this toy. Is that what you're identifying?
Yes, ma'am.
That mattress. Wait for this.
Back to J4. You see the mattress laying there,
Yes, ma'am.
covering that up?
Yes, ma'am.
Did Hannah crawl into that closet and play with that pink toy?
Hannah put the mattress in her closet when she's playing with the box. She lays
Hannah
that
put
box.
the mattress in the closet?
It's not a very heavy mattress. It's only about a 4-foot long mattress.
Your
My
3-year-old
3
child
can move that mattress.
moved
Yes,
that
ma'am.
mattress.
Yes, ma'am.
Did she get hurt doing that?
No, ma'am. It's a crib mattress, so it's not a very big mattress.
Which I'll
I
give
think I
him.
showed you J5. That's the same toy that you say that she was playing with.
I'm not saying she was playing with it. I'm saying that was one of her toys.
Did you hear her in there for 10 minutes?
No, ma'am.
Did you stop at the house first and she played in her room for 10 minutes and then you took took Chris home?
I don't believe so, but I cannot recall.
Chris didn't tell you that,
No.
so you don't have a memory of that.
I didn't ask him. It's not about what Chris tells me.
And then the last toy you identified, J6. Would you agree with me that Hannah can't reach that shelf, correct?
Correct?
That's the top shelf in a closet.
Yes, ma'am.
She's not in there by herself playing with that, correct? You told the story of playing in the room by herself to several people, correct?
I'm not sure if I did.
The doctors at Children's Hospital?
Yes, ma'am.
The detectives at Children's Hospital?
Yes, ma'am.
The detectives at Fort Hamilton?
Yes, ma'am.
In terms of the weather that day, do you recall it being cold on March 8th?
Yes, ma'am.
And you were going to be working outside all day that day? Would that be fair to say?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you recall the days preceding March 8th having difficulty at work?
I had one accident at work with a trailer. Yes, ma'am.
You recall that occurring on Tuesday, correct?
I want to say it was on Wednesday. I believe that was Wednesday on the 8th.
We'll come back. On the what?
I believe that was Wednesday on the, or I'm sorry, on the 7th, on March 7th.
You recall the trailer incident being that you failed to secure the trailer and it rolled down a hill in Kentucky on Highway 8, is that correct?
I parked the trailer on the hill, I chalked the wheels, and another one of our employees took the truck and backed into the trailer. It went up over the chalks and down the hill. Yes, ma'am.
You recall almost being fired on the night of the trailer incident?
Yes, ma'am.
And then there was another incident the day after in regards to the Mexican. Do you remember that?
Yes, ma'am.
So 2 days in a row you had the possibility of being fired, correct?
No, the incident with the Hispanic gentleman, that wasn't, nobody ever said anything about being fired. We just had some words.
TJ Smith didn't tell you if it's between you and him, he's keeping the Mexican because he's been his employee for a long period of time? You don't remember that conversation?
He said if he decided to quit, then yes, it would be, I would be the one to go.
So you knew 2 nights in a row that you were going to lose your job if you didn't get your stuff together, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And so on the morning of the 8th of March, you knew you needed to be on time, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're supposed to be at your truck ready to go at 7, isn't that correct?
I get to my truck and started at 7 a.m. Yes, ma'am.
That's what Smith Construction expects of you as an employee, that you are ready to go at 7, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And so you weren't ready to go at 7, correct?
Yes, I was.
You were running late that morning, weren't you?
I may have been a minute late or so, yes, ma'am.
And if you're a minute late or so, you would agree with me that you told Detective Lambert, 1 second. You specifically told Lambert that you weren't at your truck. Do you remember that?
No, ma'am.
He's about to literally get crushed. Or he could get crushed. And he should already be getting crushed, but I just personally think that his defense attorney or her defense attorney did not just blah.
You don't specifically recall telling Detective Lambert that you were driving to the shop located at the end of Shank Road when Lindsay called him to respond back to the house due to Hannah not breathing?
No, ma'am. It was right after I started my truck.
So if you talked to Detective Lambert at Fort Hamilton Hospital, you'd agree with me on that?
I don't recall saying that to her, no.
Do you recall talking to Detective Lambert and
Yes, ma'am.
Detective Sprague at Fort Hamilton Hospital?
I talked to a couple of detectives. I'm not sure which ones they were.
Was one of them a female?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And if I told you that the only female detective that you spoke to was Detective Lambert, do you have any reason to disagree with me?
No.
So you don't specifically recall telling Detective Lambert that you were driving to the shop located at the end of Shank Road when you got that call?
No, ma'am. I don't.
If Chris told you that that was your statement, would you agree with him?
No, ma'am. I know exactly what I was doing that morning.
You know
when I got that phone
today,
call.
it's very important about timing, isn't that true?
I know exactly what I was doing when I got that phone call. I was at my truck.
But you told Detective Lambert something different.
I don't recall saying that to her.
So if she came in here and already testified to that, she'd be lying or you would be lying?
If it's in there, maybe I did. Again, I'm not sure. I can't say what my mind was going through. I was more worried about my daughter.
You weren't at your truck yet, correct?
I was at my truck.
There was snow on the ground, correct?
Yes.
That means
Was there
there was
snow
snow
on
on your car when you got out to your car, correct?
If there was snow, and yes, there was snow on my car.
And so you get your daughter out of the house, you've got a jacket on her, you've got a blanket on her, She gets in the car. Does she get in the car by herself?
I put her in the front seat and she climbed into the back. She laid in the back seat.
I put her in the front seat. Now, granted, it is right next door.
On the way to Lindsay's house.
Okay, so in addition to getting your boots on, getting the coat on, getting your coat on, and getting her out the door, which you said took about 3 minutes, now you gotta get her blanket and put her in the front seat, correct?
Her blanket I have in my hand. I just toss it over when I pick her up and put her on my shoulder.
Correct? So now we're about 6:56? Correct?
No, not correct.
Does it take you a minute to get your 3-year-old child into the car?
I think she should have used these wordings because she screws up, in my opinion, with the wordings. It was really cold that morning, wasn't it? Yes. Okay, so when you get in a car that's sitting outside, it's not in a garage. Was your car in the garage? No. Okay, so you get into a car. Did you have to defrost it? What did you have to do? But wait till you hear. Did you have to warm up the car? Did you warm up the car before you put your little girl in there so she just got in a freezing cold car? You know. But listen to what he says he did with his truck. It was cold. I had to start the truck and wait. So I got back into my car. What? Okay. I'm here for it, Jason. I'm here for it, buddy.
When I walk up to the car and open the door, I set her in the car. I don't strap her in the car seat when we're going to Lindsay. So no, I didn't take the extra time to strap her in the car seat. I set her right in the car and we went to Lindsay's.
How long does it take you to get out the door?
A second. I mean, when I walk out the door, I just walk out the door. Maybe 30 seconds.
Okay, so we're at 6:56 and 30 seconds when you get Hannah to the car. You put her in the front seat, is what you're saying, correct?
No.
Okay, so this is what they're going off of. They're going off of the text messages. So here's the time. 6:52 a.m. He sends Lindsay a text that says, getting ready to head over. Then she responds at 6:52 and 55 seconds. Okay. So what she's trying to get Jason to say, okay, well, we're at this time spot. Now we're at this time spot.
No,
is that what you're saying?
No, ma'am.
You didn't put her in the front seat.
That's not what I'm saying either. I'm saying your timing's wrong. You're trying to twist my words.
I'm not trying to twist your words. You told us at 6:55 when you left the house. Do you recall that?
When I text Lindsay at 6:52, I was getting ready to walk out the door. So no, I'm not saying I sat there for another 3 minutes. No, ma'am, that is not correct.
Do you recall me asking you about this exhibit? Exhibit double Q?
Yes, ma'am.
Specifically, line 11 through 13, page 8?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
And you remember telling the detectives, I probably walked out the door at 6:55, do you recall that?
Yes, ma'am. I don't recall telling them that, but if it is in writing, I'm sure I
I'll
did.
show it to you again, do you want to see it?
No, I believe you. I saw it. I read it.
So if you walked out the door at 6:55, 30 seconds to walk from your front door to your car that's parked in the driveway, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Open the front passenger side for Hannah?
Driver's side.
So you walk all the way around the car and put her in through the driver's side?
No, I don't walk around the car. When I pull up through my driveway to my front porch, when I walk out, I'm already in front of my car. Usually if I put her in the front, when I get in, she climbs on my seat and she'll climb in between.
You're parked nose in into the drive, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So the closest door to your front door of your car is the passenger side, correct?
When I'm carrying Hannah and I walk out...
Listen to me. That's my question. Your car is nose in,
Yes, ma'am.
correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You don't park in that little garage, correct?
No, ma'am.
Your car's outside.
Okay, check this out. I'm going to share this so you guys can see the house and the cars. Here you go. Now, he didn't obviously have all these cars, but this is his. Okay. Walking out the front door there. All right. And then right there. I was trying to go that way. Oopsies. See how there's multiple mailboxes there? It's because uno, dos down there, which is right there, is Lindsay's house. Okay. And then you continue on that gravel past it to go to where he was going to get that truck. All right. Just so you guys could. And so they owned that house. They owned, you know. There's right there, there's a window. So anyway, sorry. I just wanted to stop so you guys could at least see that. Oh, shit.
Are you certain?
I'm 100% certain.
Because if she fell in the back seat, climbing over the front seat and hit her head, and it killed her, then you'd be responsible. Isn't that true?
I assume I would, yes, ma'am. If Hannah did not
So
fall in
that's
the
why you're
back
pretty
seat.
certain that that's not what happened.
No, ma'am.
So we're at 6:55, 6:56 and 30 seconds? You got to pull out of your driveway, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
That drive's pretty long, isn't it?
No, ma'am.
How far is it?
About from here to the doors, maybe?
Okay, so you're at a dead stop in your car that sat presumably all night long in the cold, and you shoved that thing in reverse. How long does it take you to get out into the main road of shame?
Maybe 5 seconds?
Because you're driving fast?
No, I'm not driving fast, but it doesn't take me very long to back out of my driveway. My driveway wasn't very long.
You'd agree with me that your driveway has a slight curve to it, correct?
A little bit.
It's not a straight shot, correct?
Right at the top, it curves.
Right at the top where you'd have to turn your car, correct?
I would turn my wheel to leave my driveway, yes, ma'am.
I'm going to show you and put up on the screen for you State's Exhibit 86. Let me orient this. Sorry. You agree with me that this is your house?
Yes, ma'am.
And you agree with me that this is the driveway?
Yes, ma'am.
See how it curves?
Yes, ma'am.
So you're not in a straight, just shove it in reverse. You've got to actually turn the wheel and pay attention to what you're doing, correct?
Yes, ma'am, I
Unless,
did.
of course, your daughter's climbing over the seat, correct?
No, ma'am, she was already in the back seat.
And then you reverse it into this spot, correct?
I backed up onto Shank Road.
Okay. And you'd agree with me that at that time of day, there are other workers coming to Smith Construction, correct? Because you're all supposed to be there by 7.
Well, most of the workers go
Would you
out.
agree with me?
No, ma'am, I would not.
No other workers were heading down to the barn.
I can't say no other workers there, but the majority of the workers that work for that company, no, ma'am, they did not come to the shop. They worked out in the field, so they met their foremans at the job. Most of them did not come to the shop.
So the workers that are coming to the shop, you got to be careful for them. You don't want to back your car into them as they come around the corner, do you?
No, ma'am.
And so you back up, take that curve, and then you head down to Lindsay's, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And this.
Okay. What she's trying to show, guys, everything has to do with this small window of timeline. 62 and 55 seconds, the text went out as okay, back to Jason saying, I'm getting ready to head over. And so she then says, well, when did you text him that? Or text Lindsay that? You know, Lindsay says, okay. And then, you know, well, I did it while I was getting Hannah ready to walk out the door. So did you just start up your car? Was it cold? Did you have to wait till, like, but she doesn't say that. Did you have to wait? Did you start your car early? She just fucking screws the pooch. But she's showing the time. So on how long did it really take you to get over to Lindsay's and to get Hannah in her hands, okay? So that's why she's saying, okay, we're at like 6:55, 6:56 and 30 seconds, okay? That's where she's at. that you're heading on over to Lindsay's.
This is Lindsay's house?
Yes, ma'am.
And you actually parked here in the main driveway, didn't you?
Yes, ma'am.
So she could see you, correct?
That's just where I pull in when I pull in.
That's her front window that looks outside on the main front driveway, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So you didn't drive to the back of the house, correct?
No, ma'am.
And I'm going to put up on the screen State's Exhibit 96. You agree with me that that's the house?
Yes,
The
ma'am.
4050 Shank Road?
Yes, ma'am.
And while you can't see it all, this is concrete underneath that van and it extends.
I'm sorry.
There's a concrete drive here that's seen previously in Exhibit 86.
Yes, ma'am.
That's all concrete in the front of those two garage doors.
Yes, ma'am.
And that the door that you walk into is actually in the back
Yes,
of the
ma'am.
house.
Yes, ma'am.
So when you pull into that driveway, do you pull in front forward like this minivan?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, stop your car,
Yes.
turn it off,
No, I don't usually turn it off.
you kept it running
Yes, ma'am.
to try to keep it warm,
I just keep it running. I'm on my way to work. I just kept it running.
kept it running because it was cold, correct?
That's not why I kept it running. Even when it's warm, I kept it running. I'm going right to the shop. I didn't shut my car off.
So now we're at 9:57, 9:50, I'm sorry, 6:57, 6:58 to get you to that driveway?
I don't believe it took me that long to get over there. No, ma'am.
Well, we already established 6:55, correct? 30 more seconds to get out to your car, put Hannah in the front seat on your side, correct? Correct?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
So 6:55 and 30 seconds, correct?
Yes.
You've said that Hannah got into the back seat. How long did it take her to get into the back seat?
She climbed right back there
Then why didn't you just put her in the back seat if she's just gonna climb into the back seat?
because I thought she was going to sit up front with me, and
Did
she
she
climbed in the back
fall when
seat.
you pulled the car quickly in the back?
No, ma'am.
So you'd agree with me that you're maybe at Lindsay's at 6:56, 6:57?
Maybe.
And you'd agree with me that there's at least a 30-second difference from the time you putting Hannah in the car to the time that you back it up? Another 30 seconds?
It doesn't take me 30 seconds to get out of my driveway.
Had to get it started, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Had to let it warm up a
What
little
is
bit
she
in the snow,
doing?
correct?
I didn't let it warm up.
What is she
You didn't at all?
fucking
No,
doing?
when
So
I,
you could actually see out your windshield.
I turned my windshield wipers on.
Could you see through the frost that was on your windows?
I don't know.
So we're at 6:56, 6:57. You get over to Lindsay's house, 6:57, 6:58.
About 6:57, somewhere in there. Yes, ma'am.
Could be 6:58. You weren't looking at your
I
watch,
wasn't
were
looking at
you?
my watch. No, I was not.
He's just
You get out of your car. You said you're parked in this driveway.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
walk around the house, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Wait, the prosecution is not saying objection, asked and answered. Asked and answered objection. What's the big damn deal about this? No, there is a deal about this, but I want to know why the prosecution is not objecting. They're badgering your fucking witness right now. Objection. Asked and answered. Objection. Get him to say the time. Move on. But God forbid us ask who the hell Chris Davis is.
Putting back Exhibit 86. This is the house.
Yes, ma'am.
You parked in this driveway right here.
Yes, ma'am.
Put a dot on that driveway on your screen, please.
Exactly.
Are you parked front in on the driveway?
Front end on the right side of the driveway.
Front in. And so after you dropped off Hannah, you backed up and went down to the shop.
Yes, ma'am.
So when you went here, you got Hannah out of the car. Was she in the back seat, you said?
Yes, ma'am.
And which door did you get her out of?
The driver's side.
Did she open her own door or did you open it for her?
I don't remember.
Another 30 seconds, get her out of the car?
No, ma'am. It doesn't take me 30 seconds to get out of the car. She wasn't seat belted in, so when I opened the door, she got right out of the car. I picked her
So
up.
now you remember opening the door.
Or she opened the door. When the door opened, she got right out of the car. I can't specifically say if I opened the door, if she opened the door. I think it was me, I'm pretty sure, but I don't want to say for a fact, because it could have been her inside opening the door. I'm not sure.
And you picked her up,
Yes, ma'am.
and she's got her coat on, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
She's got her hood up because it's cold,
Yes, ma'am.
and you put the blanket over, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you carry her in, correct?
Yes, I do.
And you walk to the back of the house, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
The door, point where the door is on the back of the house there.
It is right around there.
Okay, so you'd agree with me, another 30 seconds? Getting her out of the car, getting to the door?
Maybe 30 seconds.
How long do you estimate you are inside the garage at the 4050 Shank Road residence?
Less than a minute. A minute or less. I gave her hugs and kisses.
Wait, you said that she gave you lots of kisses.
She did.
So was it a long goodbye?
It was probably about a minute.
Okay.
Usually I give her a hug and kiss and hand her to Lindsay. And this time it was different. She kept asking me one more kiss, one more kiss, one more kiss. So it may have been about a minute.
So 6:58:30 or 6:59:30?
Somewhere in that range.
And Lindsay calls you at 7 o'clock and 47 seconds, correct?
Yes, that's the phone call I missed.
And just like you told Detective Lambert, you were on your way to the shop when Lindsay called you, correct?
I was in the middle.
Okay, this is important, guys. So she gets him to say, yeah, 6:58 and 30 seconds or 6:59 and 30 seconds. It's because of when Lindsay then calls him at 7 o'clock or 7:01 and 12 seconds. And so what they're trying to get to, which I don't blame her for doing this because it's important. This is important. How she went about it is the most fucked up shit I've ever seen. But it is very important. You want to get it that you're saying, you want to get Jason saying that he was leaving Lindsay's between 6:58 and 6:59. Okay. And he did say it. But then she goes back and then she does it again. And then, so here we go with this part of it. But none of that was needed. But the prosecution just sat there, didn't do anything. That tells me that the prosecution knows this lawyer and knows how she does stuff. Oh, fuck. Let her just, burn herself, let her, we know she's going to do this. We know she's going to do that. So I believe, like I said, that this prosecutor, there's two of them, they knew what they were dealing with in this lawyer. Because any other person says objection, asked and answered. Okay.
Starting my truck when I missed that first call.
That's not what you told Lambert.
Well, that's what happened.
Are you telling this jury that it only took you 1 minute and 17 seconds to get down to your truck? Drive around to the barn, get to the truck, get out of your car, and get into the truck and turn it on. That's what you're saying?
Yes, ma'am.
That it took you less than a minute and 17 seconds?
Yes, ma'am. The shop's not that far from the house. My keys are already in my truck. I pulled up to my truck, got out, and started.
So 6:59:30 at the house, 7 o'clock and 47 seconds, missed call. Where do you think you were when that missed call came in?
I was starting my truck behind the shop.
Did you have your phone on you?
That was in my car. That's why I missed your call.
Where was your phone?
Sitting in my seat in my car. When I got out to start my truck, my phone was sitting in my car.
Okay. Right here. This is the question that should come. What did Lindsay say to you? Okay, if you're heading to work, if you're supposed to be going to work, this is what you would have done. You would have shut your car off because you already just started your truck. You shut your car off. you get into the truck and you would have went there with your work truck, right? Because why would you ever think that what she's calling to tell you would be like so, like, you have to make it to work still. So I would never, I'd be thinking, okay, I'm on my way, grab the truck because I need to be in my truck to head to work. Why? Listen to what he says he did.
When I got back in my car from Southern Truck, she immediately called me back.
If I told you that the phone records demonstrate that you actually called Lindsay back, would you agree with me or disagree with me?
I'd have to disagree with you. I'm pretty sure she called me back.
Okay.
I may have seen this phone call back, but I don't think so. I'm pretty sure she called me back.
1 second, please. Do you have that particular exhibit, Ms. Hiley?
You can't find it either.
Well, I don't want to put it in my stuff. Wait, I found it.
Exactly. Or it's that you weren't to your truck yet. Wait for it. Remember, this is very important because what the defense is trying to show is that you think that Lindsay gets this child, and in basically 30 seconds to possibly a minute, crumbles her to the point that she collapses. She just barely gets, and then she's just physically abusing her and strikes her or does something which they cannot say what happened. And that drop the kid off. Dad turns around. Get over here, Hannah. Whack, whack, shaking you. And what the hell, Hannah? The kid just got to you. That's what this is about. This is about the lawyer, her defense trying to show that the time. And she calls him at 7:40. That was a missed call. He calls her back at 7:01 and 12 seconds or 27 seconds. And he claims that he missed the call because he was getting out of his car to start the truck because it was cold outside. And he wanted to wait for it to warm up. But he didn't do that for Hannah to get in the car. She can get in a freezing car. Oh, well, Hannah's only going to be in there for like 30 seconds. No, you're running late to work. You have to get on your way. So listen to this.
I'll show you what the prosecutor previously had to identify as Exhibit 128. Do you recall seeing this particular document?
Yes, ma'am.
Pointing your attention to the page that is identified on the bottom as page number 7637, specifically pointing you to the third entry that's not blacked out. Do you see that?
Yes, ma'am.
Put it up on the screen for you.
Just have a hold just a second.
Yeah, I don't know how to clear that off.
Yep.
Okay.
No, sorry. Everybody put your
Serious trauma to our girl. Right when she was
Mr. Rush? Thank you, sorry. Jason, you had an opportunity to review 128 for that particular call, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
He did not take a lie detector. His phone records were not taken. They did nothing. They just zoned in on Lindsay. Zoned in right on Lindsay. Yes, her dad dropped her off, and literally minutes, Lindsay called 911 and her dad. What's the cause of death? It's a good question.
Agree with me that after looking at State's Exhibit 128, that it was in fact you who called Lindsay
Back, yes, ma'am.
at 7:01 and 24 seconds?
Yes, ma'am.
So when her call to you at 7:00 and 47 seconds came in, you're telling this jury that your phone was in your car,
I was starting my truck, yes, ma'am.
even though you told Detective Lambert something different?
Yes, ma'am. I don't remember telling her that, but that's what I was doing. I was starting my truck when I got that first phone
And you have a
call.
distinct memory of that, very
Yes.
clear?
Yes, ma'am.
That's what you're saying to this jury today?
Yes, ma'am.
And you know today how important that timing is, don't you?
That's what happened.
You've been made very aware of how important that timing is, haven't you?
Yes, ma'am. I've known this from the beginning since I was in the hospital about the timing.
And I think your testimony was that you had left the truck running.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you recall that?
Yes, ma'am.
So if other witnesses say nobody ever went and turned your truck off, either the truck ran all day long sitting in the back of Smith Construction's pool barn?
I don't know how to answer that. I'm not sure who shut the truck off or if anybody did shut the truck off because I never went back down to the truck.
So if nobody shut
Never.
the truck off,
Then it
you
ran all
didn't
day
start your
long.
truck, correct?
Oh, I definitely started my truck. It was running when I was down there.
Why did
Okay. So Shamina, his work truck is right where Lindsay's house is. If you keep going down that gravel, because Lindsay's, the Smiths own that property, there's a barn. And behind that barn is where this truck was. It was a work truck. So he has his vehicle. So he's, puts Hannah in the car, drives to Lindsay's, drops off, Hannah, then has to drive to drops his car off, has to pick up this truck to then go to the site.
didn't you take your truck then? You
Because-
just got a call that your daughter's unconscious.
Yes.
You're telling me that you have the wherewithal of getting in your car because what if I have to go to the hospital? I'm going to need my car. You didn't just jump in that truck. You just started it, put that thing in reverse, and hightailed it up the street. Come on, are you kidding me?
No, I'm not. I didn't call her back until I was in my car. And that truck's a diesel, so you can't just start it and take off like that. I was in my car when I talked to her again, and I put it in drive, and I went back to her house.
The reason you didn't take the truck is because you didn't have the truck started, correct?
No, ma'am. That's false.
Mr. Rushy,
She's not stressing over bad points. She just does a bad job. She just does a bad job. This is a very good point. Why wouldn't you be in the truck when you went to Lindsay's house? Because it's a diesel and they can't just fly up out of there. What are you talking about? You would think that you're just going there to, like, what's going on? Like what's wrong? I know she's not breathing. She collapsed. I don't know. I think she's having a seizure. I don't know. I need you to come back. And he claims that he just left the truck running because he just flew it on down there. Maybe he did. Who knows? But what the lawyer's trying to say is you came back in the vehicle that you were in the car because it happened so quickly that you were still in that vehicle and you hadn't started that truck yet. It happened literally, Lindsay gets this child and then it happens that basically she collapses right after upon receiving her. Lindsay got convicted of murder. Murder.
You would agree with me that you lied to the police about milk and Walmart, correct?
I was confused, yes, ma'am.
For a whole year and a month.
Yes, ma'am. It is detrimental to go through what I went through. And yes, ma'am, I can't sit here and say why I didn't remember something. I wish I could. I just can't. At that time, I'm worried about telling my children how I'm going to tell them their sister's not going to wake up and she's going to die. I wasn't really worried about, I'm sorry, I was confused.
You lied to the cops about your daughter having cereal that morning also, isn't that correct? She didn't have any cereal.
I didn't see cereal in the house. Our normal routine in the morning, she does eat cereal.
So what you're saying is you gave a normal routine, not necessarily what happened. Is that what you're saying today?
I thought that she ate cereal.
And after March 8th, had you ever talked to your friend Chris?
Yes, ma'am.
What day did you next talk to him?
It was after I got out of the hospital, after Hannah had passed.
So after the 18th of March?
Yes, ma'am.
And is this a good friend of yours?
We're friends, yes, ma'am.
You indicate.
Remember, Hannah was in the hospital for 10 days. Hannah died 10 days later. But immediately the doctors had determined that that Hannah was being abused. And I'm going to let her say it here.
That you know him and he's moved to Lebanon since then, correct?
He moved in with his sister, yes, ma'am.
How many times have you seen Chris since March 18th of 2018?
Quite a bit.
Quite a bit.
Yes, ma'am.
And you're leading us to believe that the first time he tells you that, hey, I was at your house and you drove me home, was the week trial starting? I'm sorry, Sunday before trial?
That's not exactly how that came out like that. We were talking about Hannah, and we were talking about the last time he saw her, and he said he saw her the day before.
You're pretty vocal on Facebook, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you make postings on Facebook, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You're telling me that your friend Chris never responded back on Facebook, indicating about how he remembered the last night he saw Hannah?
No, ma'am. Chris doesn't have Facebook.
So you lied about the toys playing in the room, correct?
She didn't go in at 7 o'clock. Yes, ma'am.
And you're lying about that, correct?
She could have went in the room when we got back. We didn't stay. I took Chris home, so yes, ma'am. She did not go right in and play in her bedroom.
Right there. Pause. Right there. What do you mean? Right here, this is where you ask. Wait, so you pick up Hannah because you worked 7 to 7, right? Yes. So you go to pick up Hannah from Lindsay's, and Chris is at your house? Yes. So he just stayed at your house during the whole day, and you weren't there, right? Well, when did Chris first get there? Why did Chris come over? How do you guys know each other? What does Chris do for work? Did the motherfucker have to go to work? He doesn't work? It's a work day. Is Chris a drug dealer? Does Chris like to touch little girls? Now check this out. TJ, who's Lindsay's, they got married in Vegas, but they never filed like the marriage license or whatever. So whatever, they weren't, I guess, officially then married, whatever. It was like her baby daddy, then if you want to say that. But TJ and Lindsay, by all accounts, it was her husband. TJ supposedly already went to work that morning. Had already left. Did TJ go over? Does TJ know Chris? Did TJ stop over at Jason's before he left over? Because you ready for this? You ready for this? Check this out. Hmm. Man accused of raping child under 10. Cincinnati Fox 19. A 36-year-old man is accused of raping a child under the age of 10 and faces life in prison without parole due to the victim's young age. Timothy J. Smith, TJ, 38, is held without bond at the Hamilton County Jail on 2 counts of rape and 4 counts of gross sexual imposition. He was booked into the jail about 5:30 a.m. Thursday after turning himself in. A grand jury indicted Smith September 25th in connection with the offenses, which authorities say occurred on or about May 23rd. Court records show Smith was acquainted with the victim and the victim's family, and the offense occurred at a residence on the west side of Hamilton County, according to Julie Wilson, a spokesperson for the Hamilton County Prosecutor's Office. The Hamilton County Sheriff's Department investigated the case and alerted prosecutors. Further details were not available to protect the victim's identity. Smith used to live in Hanover Township with Lindsay Partin. Partin is serving an 18-year prison sentence after she was found guilty of murder and the death of a 3-year-old girl she was babysitting in 2018. Now, the Smiths have a lot of money, a lot of connections. Just put your girl Lana on it. Lindsay Partin, I'm coming for you, girl. You know it. And she loves it.
You never consented to a search of your computer, correct?
Nobody ever asked.
Prior to living at the 4004 Shank Road, you lived in Somerville, Ohio. Is that correct?
For about a week.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you recall telling Lindsay Partin that you lived in Somerville, Ohio in a house without electricity
Yes, ma'am.
in the summer, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
That you and Hannah lived in that house without electricity, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Miss Mensa. I'm coming for your book, too. What a crock of shit that was.
You owed rent for your house at 4004 Shank Road at the time of this injury to Hannah, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You hadn't paid the month of March's rent, correct?
No, ma'am.
And you hadn't paid Lindsay for the babysitting, correct?
I'm not sure how far behind I was. I was behind a little bit on Lindsay. I'm not sure exactly how far behind I was, though.
And you were behind in payments on your car that you owed to Jay Smith also for the vehicle, is that correct?
No, ma'am.
You weren't?
I gave Jay $300 a week for my car. Every single week I gave him $300 in cash. Every time I cashed my paycheck.
$1,200 a month for a car? What kind of car is he pushing? Sometimes $1,500. It was a 5-weeker. Listen to this.
So I gave him $1,200 a month. If it was a 5-week month, I gave him $1,500.
You knew you were on a short leash on the 7th of March from Smith Construction because of the issues with the trailer and the Mexican, correct?
Yes, ma'am. The
That's
trailer.
how you describe it, wouldn't you?
Yeah, the trailer. I knew I was on short leash with the trailer.
TJ had made it very clear to you that you were on a short leash, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you couldn't afford to lose your job. Is that fair to say?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Weshy, would you agree with me that you are a frequent user of the GoFundMe page system, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
That when Hannah was in your custody and care and you had possession of her, that you had put out a GoFundMe page seeking donations to help raise her, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And then when Hannah was in the hospital, you created another GoFundMe page seeking donations, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And how much did you raise in that Hannah Strong campaign?
About $10,000.
And you spent that on yourself, correct?
No, ma'am. I paid for her funeral.
Did you do a 401c3?
A 401c. I have a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Yes, ma'am.
And is that the nonprofit organization that you want to start a camp for abused children?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're seeking donations in the amount of $785,000 to do so?
Yes, ma'am.
What's your education?
High school.
High school education.
Yes, ma'am.
And the house that we looked at, would the camp be similar?
If anybody is on trial for murder and you hire this broad, you might as well put your hands out and get cuffed because you're about to get fucked. Period. I mean, I get she wants to show this or whatever. You need to get as much on a trial transcript as you can for the appeals process.
Similarly situated with the number of toys?
Okay, and this is very important. Lindsay Partin hadn't taken the stand yet, so he went before her. Why would you need to put Lindsay Partin on the stand? Why would you need to put Lindsay Partin on the stand? I think this guy pretty much just blew up the case, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but there's no reason for you to put Lindsay Partin on the stand. But according to these attorneys, what they told Lindsay and her family was that you need to take the stand because you're the only person, you got yourself into this mess. You need to get yourself out of this mess. What?
No, ma'am.
Jason, isn't it fair to say that you have come up with a new GoFundMe page? Correct?
After that one, I don't believe so.
You sued Lindsay Partin, correct?
Yes, ma'am. We do have a civil suit. Yes, ma'am.
You filed that lawsuit just on the last day of the statute of limitations, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
But you actually went to see an attorney in the spring of 2018, isn't that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
O'Connor, Tony, Levy, did you see them on the TV?
I'm not sure where I got the name from. It probably was TV. Yes, ma'am.
You retained them.
Yes, ma'am.
They opened a probate estate for you, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Just you, correct?
I haven't seen the lawsuit. I'm not really sure what's in it. I know it was opened before the statute ran out. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and you knew that all along that was your plan to do, correct?
I knew we were going to civilly sue them. Yes, ma'am.
And that's because you think that the Smiths have money, correct?
I know the Smiths have money, but that's not why I'm suing Miss Parker.
That's your new GoFundMe page, correct?
No, it's not.
You believe that you are qualified to open a summer camp for children?
I believe my directors are. One of my directors for my corporation was a CASA advocate for the courts. So yes, ma'am, I believe that my directors are very well capable of doing it.
You're the president of that company, correct?
I am the president. Yes, ma'am.
What are your qualifications to be the president of a camp for abused children? What are you going to be able to do?
I don't have qualification personally. It's not something that I plan on running myself.
You had plans on using that money for yourself, isn't that correct?
No, ma'am.
Has Chris been to trial any one of these days?
No, ma'am.
But he's a good friend of yours?
Yes, ma'am.
You'd agree with me that on the 911 call, you're already at the house, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're there when the EMTs arrived, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're aware that the EMT indicated that you were disruptive? Do you recall that?
At the hospital, maybe. Yes, ma'am.
wouldn't disagree with that?
I don't know. I wouldn't. I was disruptive at the hospital. After residence, I don't believe I was disruptive, no.
That's not true.
Do you recall the Smith family also responding to the house before the EMT and the deputy left?
I couldn't tell you who came. When they took her out, I got in my car and I left.
You recall seeing TJ Smith at the house?
No.
You don't?
No.
You recall seeing Jay Smith?
No.
You recall seeing Paula Smith?
No.
Mr. Weshy, you don't think that the detectives would have wanted to know that you had an overnight guest at your home and that he had contact with your child within the 24 hours of her injury?
I'm sure they would have, yes.
And you hid that, correct?
I wasn't trying to hide anything. I have nothing to hide whatsoever.
You or Lindsay or Chris now, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Lindsay was panicked in the telephone call to you, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Fair to say?
Yes, ma'am.
You heard the 911, have you heard the 911 call?
I listened to it last year. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And last year when you listened to the 911 call, did you listen to any other recordings?
I don't believe so. I mean, as far as court goes, I watched it on the news every time we had a court case, but the 911 tape is all the recordings I listened to, I believe.
What day did you go see O'Connor, Johnny, and Levy?
No.
I could not tell you.
If I told you that the coroner's investigative report indicates that they were trying to get the coroner's report in May of 2018, does that sound right?
Thank you.
It may have been May, yes.
Was it April?
No, it was not April.
1 second, please.
Sure.
Mr. Weshy, you'd agree with me that from the time of the EMT leaving the house to the time of March 9th, let's say 1 p.m., you've had multiple calls with Lindsay Partin, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you've seen her for hours at Children's Hospital, correct?
I'm not sure how long she was there, but I don't think it was hours. She came towards the evening. Yes, I did see her at Children's
Let's go
Hospital.
back. So you saw her at Fort Hamilton Hospital, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And then she came down to the hospital, correct?
He was being disruptive at when the EMT was there. He's not talking about the hospital. So the EMT is day one. This was an 8-day trial. Day one is the EMT. And in his notes, he puts that Jason was being disruptive. That's what. Yeah, Chris was never. Okay, guys, this is Chris Davis. The day that this happened, Jason was on the stand the day before, because it was a 2-day, and I think he was at the end of that day, and he was direct examined, and he then says, and he mentions the fact that he did not go to Walmart like he stated, and that Chris Davis spent the night, and that he took him home the night before. And it's because he was shown on March 25th photos of their house, and and her attorney believes that also people were reporting back to him that were police officers about, oh man, they're going to ask you about that suitcase, and it's going to come up. That's what her attorney is alluding to. versus just ask the question, where's your private investigator? Right immediately, this needed to be a mistrial, and they would have granted it. They were going to grant it. If you're an attorney and this happens, you need to say you have to do this mistrial. We cannot take any chances here. We have them right where we want them. This man lied, and now we need to question Chris. We need to bring Chris Davis in here. Why didn't her attorney go get a subpoena for Chris Davis to get his fat ass on the stand? Hey, Chris, you never thought to come forward and say that you saw Hannah and that you spent the night with her? Were you the one to sleep on the couch with her? I mean, who's Chris Davis? Yeah, no, he tries to allude to that, but Sharina, yeah. So, Fight for a Family is in Aliquippa on those cases, and Fight for a Family is on the Lindsey Partin case. So I wanted everybody to see, I try to tell people, go watch the trial, and then we can come back, and then I'm going to start doing episodes. And I figured that people don't like to do homework, so I'll just go ahead and show some stuff and then break it on down. No one likes homework. But right here, we need to haul in Chris Davis. I mean, what the hell? And I think that, and they don't. And I have a lot of intel on a lot of things, and I'm going to review over my stuff to see what I feel comfortable with saying and what I don't feel comfortable with saying. But right now, we need new evidence in order to get Lindsey Partin back into the courtroom. She's exhausted. She went ahead and did ineffective counsel. They denied it. They denied her direct appeal. But obviously, if there's new evidence is new evidence. So that's how Lindsey Partin gets back into the courtroom, is with new evidence. Chris Davis has neighbors. Chris Davis did you go to work? So he would have so this is where going undercover is what I like to do. But also dissecting the shit out of something is what I like to do. His phone records right here, this main man, were never put in. His phone records were never, ever, 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 ever turned over. His Google, nothing. If he could have been GPS that night, the day before. All right, so we're going to finish up his cross, and then I'm going to wrap up this episode.
She came to Children's later on that evening.
Okay. And if I said that her records indicated that she was there from approximately 6 to 9 p.m., would you agree or disagree with that?
She may have been. I'm not sure. If her records indicate that, then I assume she was, but I'm not sure of the time frame on how long she was there and how long she wasn't.
And TJ Smith came down too, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you'd agree with me that she was there in the evening hours, correct?
It was the evening, yes, ma'am.
So this is after Hannah's had brain surgery performed by Dr. Stevenson, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And after you've spoken to Dr. Stevenson after the surgery, correct? About her condition?
Yes, ma'am.
And you sat with Lindsey for a period of time at the hospital, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Your daughter Caitlin also sat with Lindsey, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You all prayed together, is that fair to say?
Yes, ma'am, we did.
And is that when you told her about the aneurysm?
Lindsay?
Yes.
No, that was my assumption. Nobody said aneurysm. When the EMTs took her, they told me it looked like she has blood on her brain. I assumed that she had an aneurysm. So when I called my father-in-law, my brother, and my daughter, that's what I told them, that she had an aneurysm. That's what I assumed. I didn't know it was abuse until the next day.
That's what you continued to tell Lindsey on the evening of the 8th down at Children's Hospital, correct?
Yes, ma'am, that's what I thought.
That it was an aneurysm?
That's what I thought.
That's even though Dr. Stevenson and other doctors are describing abuse? instead?
Yes, they were saying.
You're aware of that, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So you're aware before Lindsay Partin comes down in the evening of the 8th that the doctors are telling you abuse, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Right there. That's everything. The doctors are telling him abuse. He never tells this to Lindsay. And in fact, he has Lindsay believing that she had a aneurysm. Canadian mama, hey, baby. Come back later. It's Diane's birthday. Why wouldn't he say, Lindsay, what do you mean abuse? Like, why isn't he abuse?
But you're telling Lindsay Partin aneurysm, correct?
That's what I thought. Yes, ma'am.
So you're lying to Lindsay, correct?
I was telling her what I thought.
You're covering up the abuse, correct?
No, ma'am.
You're concealing the abuse, correct?
No, ma'am.
You're the one who told Lindsay about the torso bruises, isn't that correct?
No, ma'am.
You needed to cover up the fact that you had caused those, isn't that correct?
No, ma'am.
That your daughter Caitlin had seen one of those bruises over the weekend, isn't that correct?
No, ma'am.
You don't remember that?
I don't remember that.
You don't remember that she told the detectives that?
That she had bruises?
Yes.
She may have said she had bruises. I'm not sure. Not on a torso, no. I don't believe that she said it.
No. Dr. Stevenson and other doctors are describing abuse instead?
Yes, they were saying.
You're aware of that, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So you're aware before.
So why isn't she asking, wait, so the doctors tell you, what do they say to you? Why isn't she needs to ask for clarification. What did the doctors say to you? When did they say this? And you just thought to yourself, well, I'm not abusing her, and I know that our caretakers aren't, so they can think whatever they want, but no one's abusing anybody here, and they're going to see that. I mean, she's not letting him speak. Why would you not tell Lindsay what the doctors are saying? Well, because I didn't believe them. You didn't believe let him answer that. Her plan was to make Jason look like a liar. Well, that could be your plan, but your second part of your plan needs to be, why is Jason lying? Let him loose lips sink ships. Let him talk.
Lindsay Partin comes down in the evening of the 8th that the doctors are telling you abuse, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
But you're telling Lindsay Partin aneurysm, correct?
That's what I thought. Yes, ma'am.
So you're lying to Lindsay, correct?
I was telling her what I thought.
You're covering up the.
Wait, right there, the question is what do you mean what you thought? Why did you think this? The EMTs told you what? What EMT told you this? When did they tell this to you?
The abuse, correct?
No, ma'am.
You're concealing the abuse, correct?
No, ma'am.
You're the one who told Lindsay about the torso bruises, isn't that correct?
No, ma'am.
You needed to cover up the fact that you had caused those, isn't that correct?
No, ma'am.
That your daughter Caitlin had seen one of those bruises over the weekend, isn't that correct?
No.
The reason this is important is because if Lindsay was told, the doctors are saying that Hannah was abused, do you think that would have changed her cooperation with the police? He's sitting by the bedside of his daughter. I don't have time. I will talk to you guys. I mean, my daughter's alive. My daughter's not dead. I don't need to talk to you guys. They're not going to bother a dad. You know what I'm saying? But Lindsay was available. Hey, can you come down to the station? Can we talk to you? Can you come in, and we want you to help us. We want to figure out what happened to Hannah. What happened? Okay. But can you imagine if Lindsay would have known that the doctors are saying, we think Hannah's been abused. She's been being abused. With that, I mean, if now Lindsay getting that information right when Jason got it, go talk to the police. I mean, I think that changes everything to me. Wait, then that means I'm the one that watches her. 2018 is when it happened. 2019 is when the trial happened, and now it's 2022. But to me, that changes everything, because then Lindsay has to know I'm the caretaker. I mean, yeah, Jason's her father. Is Lindsay in jail? Lindsay's in prison. Lindsay was charged with murder. This jury found her guilty of murder. Lindsay talked to the detectives. Wait till you see. Now, again, the order of this trial matters. I'll break down, the facts about this, but the defense only called two witnesses. Jason, in my opinion, did not tell Lindsay about what the doctors were saying. Well, I'm not even going to speak on that yet, because when you want to talk about corruption, when you want to talk about what was going on at the police department, who's actually, police, are they related to anybody? Could there be some type of corruption? Do we want somebody to get blamed? Blah, 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 blah. So I'll let him finish this out, and then I'll wrap it up.
No, ma'am.
You don't remember that?
I don't remember that.
You don't remember that she told the detectives that?
That she had bruises?
Yes.
She may have said she had bruises. I'm not sure. Not on a torso, no. I don't believe that she said anything about those bruises, because those came from the rocks.
You've had multiple conversations with your daughter, Caitlin, about that?
I have conversations with my daughter all the time, yes, ma'am.
And your testimony here is that you're being told by the doctor's abuse, but you continue to tell Lindsay aneurysm, correct?
I thought it was an aneurysm, yes, ma'am.
Despite what the doctors are telling you,
Yes,
correct?
yes, because at the time I did not think it
No
was
further
abuse.
questions, thank you.
Counsel, approach, please. Folks, it is just about noon on the dot. I'm going to go ahead and give you an hour for lunch. Mr. West, you're still under oath. You still are under the admonition you cannot discuss the case with anybody.
Okay. Yeah, so this is just asinine, but so let's see, who's Chris Davis? My next live. Who is Chris Davis? So this woman could be completely innocent. Yeah. Not only could she be completely innocent, but somebody did this to Hannah. Hannah was 3. And they didn't investigate. They zoned in, and they kind of let Lindsay, quote unquote, this defense attorney likes to use the word patsy. Yeah, she was the fall guy. But why? Because people knew something. People knew something, but Lindsay didn't know what was going on. And I believe those somethings were drugs. Possible, as you can see, TJ and his being charged with what he was charged with. Just literally 1 or 2 months after the trial, Lindsay's found guilty. Then this happens with TJ, but it doesn't make any type of news or headwaves until October, because that's when they indict him. But the alleged incident happened in May of 2019. In 2018, right after Lindsay, was arrested, TJ refinances his house for money. Don't know what he did with that money. Don't know if it went to Lindsay's defense or anything like that. So I believe that this goes way deeper. This is not just about Hannah. This is about a town that I believe has corruption. There's corruption involved. I believe that there's crooked police. I believe that this isn't what people think. And I'm going to try to do my job to show what really happened and what really is going on with the characters that surround Hannah's death. So, Sydney, thank you, Lana. I want to say I'm proud of you and how you have come out the other side of horrible bullying, and was so happy to see you on AD's channel. Such maturity on that show you collaborated on. Thank you very much. Where's the bio mom? Exactly. She was addicted to heroin. Hannah got to see her supposedly, allegedly, once a week. Jason would take her to see the mom. The mom spoke at the sentencing of Lindsay Partin, and when she's speaking of things like, I'm going to miss out on her milestones of like marriage and grandkids and this, that, and the other. And I'm thinking to myself, you could even make her breakfast. And saying that Lindsay robbed you of this and robbed Hannah of her life. You almost killed your own daughter. She spent 92 days in the NICU because she was born addicted to heroin. That's what her mom did. I discovered you on AD's channel, and I'm glad I did. I'm glad you're here for it. Does Lindsay ever take the stand? She takes the stand the next day. And it's actually, like I said, I know insider stuff, but she was told to take the stand. She was told that you got yourself into this mess. You need to get yourself out of this mess. So I'm breaking it all down, Shmina. So if you want to just watch it when we watch it, you're cool to do that. Or you can binge. Jason's phone records, if they would have had them, 33,000 pages worth of stuff. It's a lot. The amount of discovery in this case, there's a lot. A lot. Muffy, thank you. Appreciate that. Jess, appreciate that. So I hope you guys all, like I said, this is an Ohio case. It's like I say, it's in my backyard. It's not that far for me to travel. And to be able to visit Lindsay and to see her and talk to her in person. They're doing that in Ohio, which is great. There's a lot of things with this case that nobody has any idea about, and I'm going to expose it all. And I was told Miss Menzel wrote a book about it. And so I Googled it. And she thinks that Lindsay is like this monster. And how horribly wrong Miss Mensa is again. I think maybe she has something against women. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I mean, I guess go get it on Kindle for $2. But she states that it's just her opinion essay. Well, your opinion shit. So the nerve of people. So yeah, this is what's funny. Listen to the medical evidence. Hannah wouldn't have been functional after that injury. Did you listen to both sides of the medical evidence? Did you listen to both sides? Because they had an expert on the prosecution side, and they had expert on the defense side, and they clash. So when you want to say that, I say then you're only listening to one side. That's what I think about the medical evidence. Yeah, I mean they keep usually phone records depending on what carrier you're with. Oh, thank you. That's a very kind compliment. I've been trying to not know about it because that photo of the ill girl in the hospital bed with all the tubes was just heart-wrenching. Yeah, it's really heart-wrenching to see. But I think that's actually why, like, I just think it's awful to be accused of something that you didn't do. And here, her defense attorney had the chance to set her free, and her defense attorney royally fucked up. I believe that. Yeah, especially if you're a mom and you have your own babies. I mean, or if you're an aunt, you love pets. I mean, come on, it's the same thing. People with pets. Thank you. Thank you. And I'm gonna, yeah, that's why, you know, if Callie ever wants to not be scared one day, I think Callie should come up here and talk about some professional opinions on that. It's kind of like what I said about, you know, Kim Kaufman wants to talk about the autopsy all day, and other people want to talk about the autopsies all day about with the girls and everything with the Chris Watts case. Usually you're going to have experts on both sides, and they say, yeah, this could be possible this way, this could be possible this way, right? So in my opinion, they kind of clash out. So what else do we have? And what we have is Lindsay Partin didn't just watch Hannah. She watched multiple kids, including her own. There was 4 of them there. She watched 4 kids at the time that this was happening. 2 weeks prior to, Lindsay just had a miscarriage. And the prosecution alludes to the fact that Lindsay was mad at Jason because Jason was behind and paying. Lindsay only charged Jason $30 a day to watch Hannah Monday through Thursday. She had Hannah usually 7 to 5, a lot of times 7 to 7. She'd feed Hannah breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I think the pictures in Jason's house show that, because where's Hannah's food? You have to look at other testimony in this case besides, and you have to ask yourself why the interrogation that the cops did on Lindsay. It's the Reed technique, if you've ever heard of it. Yes, Lindsay has 2 children at the time. So Hannah was 3. Her one daughter was 3, but just a little bit younger, a couple months. And then 3 and 4. So she had 4 3 and 4-year-olds. There was 2 3-year-olds and 2 4-year-olds that she watched. So I just think that at the end of the day with this case, there's so much reasonable doubt. Well, could she have done it? Yeah. Well, if you think someone done it, it's not guilty. Is it? It has to be certain, and that's just not there. And the fact that Hannah, I mean, to know Hannah's life, I mean, she was born addicted to heroin. She had to spend 92 days in the, the ICU, the NICU. She was a newborn, for 92 days because they have to wean you off of that. So, and then Jason, had full custody of Hannah. Jason has 2 older daughters from a different woman. And at the time, they were 12 and 18. Now they're 14 and 20. I'm not saying that I think Jason did it. I'm not saying that I think I have nothing to say on that. All I can tell you is this narrative isn't right. Them saying that she had bruises and supposedly it just started. So like, oh yeah, she had fell off the train. Because when someone asks you, well, can you think about it, that when she would fall at all? Like, well, yeah, this, that. I mean, but every time that something like that happened, Jason, in his interviewing with the police, said, yeah, she told me she hit her chin, the knee. She had the black eye from the handlebar falling on the train. I mean, Lindsay told him every time she came to pick her up leading up to, that day, because it was just had been recent stuff. She told him everything. And Jason didn't have any problems. Jason asked Hannah, and Hannah said, no, I did this. And Hannah wasn't like, no, she hits me. Or, I mean, you gotta think that like Hannah's only 3. Now he lied about the night leading up to this. And what the defense's expert said is that this could have happened, over time, or something that happened the night before. But you'd have to listen to those 2 medical sides. Think about every time you go get a second opinion on something. This doctor tells you that, and this doctor tells you that. That's why I believe that you that's science. It's and bruises can be dated based on the coloring. Yep. Black, purple, greenish, yellow. Yep. Think about when you get your own bruise. It's red at first, next thing you know, then it starts bruising, and then you can get a black eye. But it just doesn't, like, you don't get hit and then, oh my god, it's a black eye. But they're talking about there's a mark on the back. It was a dime shape that happened in her back of her head, and they didn't know that it was there until they shaved her head, because of, like, at the hospital doing different stuff. And it was like a dime shape. There was 2 bruises. Like, I don't think they show any of that you see. But just the testimony, I would have never had Lindsay, I don't think, take the stand. I think that Jason went ahead right there in his testimony. Also, where's Chris? You're filing mistrial, and we need Jason's phone records. Now we need this. Now we didn't need that. The other thing is, it's just because the prosecution in the state didn't go and get any of Jason's stuff. Why didn't the defense? So I might be missing something here, but where's the defense's private investigator that could have investigated and got to the bottom of finding out that Chris Davis, was there? Why didn't they subpoena stuff? I mean, so the person that had the addiction issues though was the mom, and she wasn't really in her life, but just supposedly once a week that she would see her, I guess, supervised. No, she was not a public defender. She was not. And they paid a lot of money. And it's like, I want to know what the hell people are paying for. Because, okay, you say, where's Jason's phone records? Oh, you guys didn't go get them? Okay, then we're going to go get them. I don't understand. So maybe I'm missing something. Could they not have gotten Jason? Oh, he doesn't have that phone anymore. Was it a burner phone? What kind of phone was he rocking? Go with the carrier. I mean, I don't get it. I don't understand. If what if Jason and Chris were out selling drugs? I mean, where was all of Jason's money going to? How are you behind on paying Lindsay? You're paying $1,200 a month for a car. You gave I was giving him $300 a month for this, or $300 a week for this car. $1,500 a month for a car. What kind of car do you have? Or was it drugs? Were you buying something else off of TJ? Was it drugs? I don't know. I mean, I'm saying, like, you're not going to question what type of car he has. Why is he paying $1,200 a month for a car? And if it was a 5-week month, it's $1,500. It doesn't make any sense. And she doesn't get clarification. She doesn't, there's no follow-up to the answer that he would give on that question. So it's like this. She has her questions written down, and she just asks her questions, but based on his answers, you better have something if that wasn't answered enough. And that's just, so whoever was sitting beside her, I think she did a horrible job. So no, she was not a public defender. She should give all the money back. Bro, a Tesla is not even $1,200. I just don't think he was paying him $1,200 for that, but he had to account for that money somehow. So that means, is TJ gonna lie for him? Was maybe he was buying something else from him? But we didn't even get to, I mean, how much was he paying in rent to rent the house? You just got to ask yourself if I'd want to know what kind of car he had. We'll get to that. We'll get to that, what he owed. But it's just, how could you write a book on your opinions of that trial, basically, I guess. I don't know. The enormous months I got her sip on, but and just say that Lindsay's this horrible monster. Okay. I never heard of a car payment differing. Oh yeah, like you never heard of, like, yeah, every I paid him $1,200. I give him $300 a week. If it was a 5-weeker, then I'd give him 15. And it's like, well, why would you give him 1,500? Isn't your car payment 12? So the months that are longer, no, why are you giving him $300 a week? What were you paying for? I mean, whatever. But hey, Lindsay's a monster. Okay, well then I must be deaf, dumb, and blind, because that's not what I'm getting from this case. What I'm getting from this case is that when it looks like shit, when it smells like shit, it is shit. Period. So you guys go enjoy your Saturday. I got a birthday party that I'm rocking for Mod Squad tonight. I am talking about and outing Kimberly Griffith's YouTube/social media presence will be revealed tonight. So I'm going to reveal who's Kimberly Griffith. Who is Kimberly Griffith? Do we know her? Maybe we know her. So you guys should enjoy the episode. You're very welcome. Thank you. And yeah, please considering being a member here for Fight for Family, or I think you guys should be able to trust the website. It's very secure, unlike what people said. But in order to be able to do stuff, and it's supposed to be a crowdsourcing thing, and I can do a lot of the research, a lot of the work, but like I said, I don't know what the fuck these lawyers do with their money, but it's definitely not win. They don't win. They suck. So peace out. See you guys back for the Kim G birthday bash. What?